We're 5 Mythical Glory players with over 40,000 matches of experience, and today we will show you 3 broken emblem combos. We will of course tell you which heroes can abuse these combos and why, so let's start with our first hero today, 𝐉𝐸. Before the emblem revamp, 𝐉𝐸 was a solid choice after the nerf he received. But now with the new emblems, we're gonna see 𝐉𝐸 being extremely tanky even more than before. His defense may remain the same, but the new fighter emblem is making him extremely terrifying. But why, you may ask? The fighter emblem is in general a freaking nightmare to go against. The emblem itself has a flat 10% spell vamp, which in itself is extremely high. The adaptive damage and hybrid defense is also nice, but it's this spell vamp that makes many fighters much more stronger, especially when you pair it with Festival of Bloods, because then you get 16% spell vamp when the game starts. And once you complete Festival of Blood's passive, which you can easily do now, as you can get stacks with assists now as well instead of just kills, you can get all 8 stacks, which gives you 4% more spell vamp, adding up to 20% spell vamp in total. This is just as much as Bloodlust X gives you, which is insane. Putting that on 𝐉𝐸 is just crazy on its own as to how tanky he becomes while using his ult. But also because his skills are all AoE skills, his heals are insanely crazy as you can hit so many enemies. Now as full emblem, I would use agility for the movement speed so you can rotate, Festival of Blood obviously, and the last talent is Brave Smite, which is another powerful talent, as you can heal 5% of your max HP every 6 seconds when dealing damage with a skill. So you can use this effect multiple times in a gank, which makes you even more tanky. There is a reason he's the 14th most popular hero overall and the most popular XP laner right now. And while we're talking about the fighter emblem, let's talk about another fighter that benefits greatly from it, just like 𝐉𝐸, our big daddy dragon, Zhong. He's around the same ballpark as 𝐉𝐸, as he is also a decently sustainable fighter who's great in objective fights and also in team fights. But with the changes, he has gotten a lot more deadlier. Now you can easily use the same emblem as 𝐉𝐸 and it would work immensely. But because of his passive, I believe there is another emblem that works very well on him, and that is the support emblem. The support emblem gives you plus 15% on your healing effects, plus 10% cooldown reduction, and 6% movement speed. The reason why I like the support emblem a lot is firstly that this is one of the only 2 emblems that brings movement speed as its attribute, and it has the most movement speed out of all the emblems. Secondly, the cooldown reduction is great as Zhong's ult has a crazy long cooldown. But lastly and most importantly is the healing effect. The healing effect also affects Zhong's passive and lets him heal a lot more than without it. It reminds me of the old Zhong, where you could heal your entire HP by just proccing your passive twice. Because of his healing, he will be so much harder to kill, he'll be able to use his ult much more often, and his own movement speed weakness won't be so much of a problem anymore, as almost all other heroes in the game became slower. The talents are the same as 𝐉𝐸, but you have the option to bring Rupture for penetration if you feel like you're missing some damage. By the way, if you need more personalized help in becoming better in ML, make sure to become a member of the MLG family and get your gameplay analyzed or request your own personal guide. Just click on the join button and explore it further. The third fighter I believe also takes advantage of the fighter emblem is of course our big daddy Terizla. Terizla is another fighter that was pretty decent in the meta, and he was usually used to go against Glue and Zhong. He deals some insane damage even without many attack items. He can move while he attacks and not even a stun is stopping his bonk move, and this is combined with his tanky build and set potential. One big reason why he was so sustainable was his spell vamp of course, and again because of the fighter emblem giving you basically a second blood Butler's axe. Every second skill combo is going to heal him like crazy. I recommend building him just like Zhong and 𝐉𝐵 before, though the support emblem isn't helping him as much as Zhong, as most of his healing comes from the spell vamp. Overall, these three fighters may reign supreme, but there is another fighter that sits in the banned section since his release, who also benefits from this emblem. And that is, of course, 𝐼𝐺. 𝐼𝐺, as we all know, is a pain in the A, especially with his tank build. His sustain, his CC abilities, and still having decent damage is just a hell to deal with. Most people think he will benefit from the fighter emblem, and if you're talking about damage, yes, he most likely can, but because of tank 𝐼𝐺, I think the support emblem with some tank talents is the way to go for him, and not his spell vamp. So the way to do this is use the support emblem and add health to him. Vitality just gives you straight HP, Tenacity makes himself more tanky and is in my opinion also a better option than Festival of Blood, and then you use Brave Smite as the heal is based on max HP. With this, 𝐼𝐺 is essentially unkillable if he has all of his skills up, and can last in a 1v5 for an extreme amount of time, even killing some people. So basically, he'll be in the banned section forever. Seriously, Moonton, what were you thinking when you released this one? But on the subject of the support emblem, there are also some roamers who love these changes. Estes. I think when I mentioned the 15% healing effect, there were some of you already thinking about him. And if you have been playing him after the emblem revamp, you might have noticed Estes has been healing a lot more than usual. The way I would build Estes is quite honestly just a normal support talents. Agility for movement speed so he can follow his dashing allies. Pull yourself together for a lower cooldown on the battle spell and the active item if you have any. And focusing mark for the extra damage for teammates. But if you want to get juicy with it, you can also use Quantum Charge for extra healing, but especially the movement speed to rotate around faster. Just attack a jungle creep or minion to activate your passive, and you're able to take off 2 to 3 seconds of your rotation. It may be a small thing, but believe me, it will make a huge difference. I mean, just think about how many times you were just 1 second late for a great play. Another hero we should talk about is Uranus. Please, don't make this joke in the comments. Uranus have been super unpopular in the last months. But the recent buff and all of the passive buffs he received made him much more stronger than before. I mean, it's not like I already said it back in May that he is really strong and super underrated. Being subscribed to 𝐼𝐺𝐬𝐧 is surely not a bad thing. Now with the new healing effect from the support emblem, he is even better, as this is a huge buff for his sustainability. Plus his damage is a lot more insane than people think it is. When you have about 3 to 4 stacks of your first ability on someone squishy, you can one-shot them when they have half of their health. And since you can clear quickly and rotate around decently fast, Uranus is able to shine again. A look on this chart from MLBB.Ninja shows you exactly what I mean. I would recommend using agility for movement speed, pull yourself together, and Brave Smite for some extra regen, as you always use your skills anyway. But besides the fighter emblem and the support emblem being extremely broken, there is another emblem that is even more broken than they are. And this is without any question the Assassin emblem. And one of the heroes I believe will benefit from this change the most is 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐿. 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐿 before wasn't used as much, as many tank junglers just farm faster than her and could easily counter her. But now, because of the new emblem system, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐿 can match them in farming speed and can do some insane damage because of these unbalanced stats on this emblem. We have to start with 16 adaptive penetration, which is extremely high, especially in the early game where many heroes only have around 15 physical and magic defense. Meaning you ignore all of their defense, which gives you an insane damage boost. And then of course you add 10 adaptive attack and 3% movement speed, which makes you just a little bit faster than your enemies and helps you to rotate. Though it might not be as much as the support emblem 6%, 3% is still a very decent amount of movement speed. And to make the penetration effect even more OP, we can also add Rupture to this emblem, which gives you another 5 adaptive penetration. So you get 21 adaptive penetration in the early game, which is honestly just insane. This gives you a higher flat pen than any item like Genius Wand or Hunter Strike. And the crazy part about this is, you can trigger the negative defense effect with it. Meaning when your flat penetration is higher than the enemy's defense, you deal even more damage than you usually would. Let's do a little comparison so you realize how big the difference is. Here we have 0 penetration and Layla has 10 magic defense. And if we use our second skill once, we will deal 355 magic damage. Now we have 21 magic penetration and Layla has still 10 magic defense, and we deal 437 magic damage. That's 82 more magic damage just by using the right emblem. In percentage, you deal 23% more damage, which shows even better how insane this is. Imagine you deal 35,000 damage over the game in at 23%. Then you deal a total of 43,500 damage, which is 8,050 more damage just by using the right emblem. This number is of course not representative, as the effect is way lower against tanks, but in the early game this is a huge game changer for all assassins. Now, Karina couldn't use the Assassin emblem before, which is why this is even a higher boost for her. So as talents, you should use Rupture, as I just mentioned, Seasoned Hunter to match your enemy's farm speed and for the extra damage against the Turtle and the Lord, and generally you should always use this talent as jungler, period. And lastly, either Killing Spree as you're a killing machine, or Lethal Ignition for the burn damage. Another assassin who will greatly benefit from this change is our one-shot king, Saber. Saber loves penetration. Wait, what? So, he himself can reduce the enemy's defense, and when you pair this with flat penetration, you can get very deep into the minus defense. Building Fury Armor as first item with 12 physical penetration gives you 33 blood. Fuck! Blood penetration. I don't want to say the sentence again. I failed it so many times. And with your ability to remove 15 physical defense in the early game, you can easily one-shot every squishy with full health. You can also adjust the emblem a bit, using Rupture just like before, but now using Master Assassin for the extra damage for solo picks and Lethal Ignition for the burn damage to secure kills. This guarantees that you will get your kills against any squishy enemies throughout the match, and even fighters need to be scared of you, as you will be able to deal a massive amount of damage to them as well. I believe he will be used a lot more in this update, especially as a counter against those flashy assassins. Now a huge shout out to our MLG family members, especially our glory members Van and OG VOV Fiend. And now check out this video where we show you how to dominate your enemies in solo queue. Yes, I seriously got 33 kills without a single death.